like to talk a little bit about subject-object interplay. It is a central tenet in Buddhist thought, and in a way, Buddhism is kind of unique in world philosophies in this teaching. The subject-object interplay, subject is I, the observer. Object is the observed. Now that can sometimes be another person, but often it can be literally just an object, and sometimes it can just be the environment or the space that the subject is in. As an example, dream time, where we are in an environment that has been completely created by the subject, our mind, projecting an object, the dream environment, and peopling it with things, places, people, all part of our consciousness. And then the interplay, which is the interaction between subject and object. Now, let's take, for example, when we're in a room alone and there is no object. The subject is us, the object becomes the room, and the interplay becomes our interaction with that room. Now that may seem like not very much is happening on a physics level. There is immense interaction happening between us and any space that we're in. So many levels of interaction that is almost indescribable. But we are constantly exchanging information and energy with the space or the objects in that space. There are places where the subject and object, where the lines between them are very distinct. And then there are times when the subject and object's lines get very, very blurry, increasingly blurry until they collapse into each other. And this is what liminality is. Liminality is the points where subject and object merge together and lose their definition, where they can't be, you cannot tell the difference between the outside and the inside, between reality and fantasy. In these moments of high fluidity, where the subject and object collapse on each other, worlds are born. Worlds within us, perspectives arise, and worlds die, and perspectives die, worlds end. It is the space where we call psychosis. It is also the space where the shamanic experience occurs. It is also death. Death is the most tangible example of subject-object interplay collapse. It also happens during orgasm, which in the Japanese tradition, one of the words for orgasm is little death. And many traditions recognize the parallel between dying and orgasm. And that parallel is in the subject-object collapse, or merge, is a more palatable term. But when subject and object collapse into each other, you have oneness. And oneness is an incredibly blissful state. However, it is not a sustained state. It will not last. Sooner or later, the other will arise again. Or this oneness will divide, as in, for example, when you've merged with your beloved, you're the person you have the strongest, most beautiful connection to. We've all had this. It's the stuff of life. Beautiful. And then an argument arises, or some difference of opinion, and that separation that then comes from what was just a moment ago, this exquisite merging. And we think there's a difference between the merging and the separation. They're not different. They are two sides of one phenomena. And that phenomena is emptiness. Now, emptiness is something we do not have many teachings for in our culture. But emptiness is the nature of phenomena. And what does that mean? Emptiness is not just referring to space. Emptiness is not just referring to no thingness or nothingness. Emptiness is also referring to fluidity. Fluidity is the spaces where subject and object are collapsing into each other or almost breathing, coming in, moving out. It's always a fluid situation. We are always in a fluid situation. Then we think we're in a static situation. We think we're in a solid situation. So when something arises that reminds us that we are not static, we feel uncertainty, but only because we haven't contemplated the situation, which is that we do not know. We don't know when the subject and object are going to collapse into each other. We don't even know what the actual definitions of the subject are. So let me explain what I mean by that. When you say I, where do you begin? Do you begin at the walls of your skin? Your body is just as much the body of the air, the body of the trees, the body of the earth, the body of the oceans. These are as much our body as this is. So our body is contained in larger bodies. That is interdependence. And that is the emptiness of independent existence. Independence is an illusion. Interdependence is reality. Interdependence and emptiness are synonymous because interdependence is the reality of everything being so connected that we are all part of systems that are so vast you can't really find the beginning or end of. And this is a perfect illustration for subject-object collapse, where you wind up with these separation and differences merging into a wider system, a wider field. And within that wider field, we can see a greater reality, because that is what we are. We are part of this wider field, this wider reality. So I would remind you, and please remember that when you experience the discomfort of your lines getting crossed, of what you know suddenly becoming not so sure, take a deep breath and look at your mind as opposed to trying to find what out there is causing the problem. Because out there, there's millions of things happening. And changing them won't change the other 999,000 things. It'll change the one. But if you change how you're perceiving it, you will change everything. Changing our perception changes everything. So enjoy the ride. And remember, nobody knows. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like us and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified for when we post new videos. We really would encourage you to ask any questions that you have. We would love to answer them and address them in any way possible. And we will talk to you soon. And remember, stay focused on the question.